Something really big is happening in the world of tech. We're seeing domain experts, people who are masters of their craft but aren't coders, suddenly getting the power to build the exact tools they've always dreamed of, all thanks to AI. Let's dig into how that's even possible.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're deep in your work and you think, man, if I just had a little piece of software that did this, it would change everything. But that gap between the idea and the actual tool just feels like a giant canyon. Well, the story we're diving into today is about someone who actually built a bridge across it.
So let's start with a problem I think a lot of us can relate to, the expert's bottleneck. Our guy here is a true master in his field, but he kept hitting the same wall over and over again. The software that was out there, it just didn't cut it. It was either way too generic or it just flat out couldn't handle his very specific needs.
And here's that mismatch in black and white. On one hand, he needed these super specific workflows tailored to how he works. But all the software out there was just, one size fits all. He needed perfect data integration, but he was stuck doing these clunky manual exports that were just asking for errors. And if you wanted to build something custom, we're talking months of development and that classic, painful process of trying to explain what's in his head to developers who, through no fault of their own, just don't live in his world.
This really just says it all, doesn't it? The real frustration wasn't that he didn't have the vision. He knew exactly what he needed. The problem was he didn't have the tools to make it real. That communication gap was just as big of a hurdle as the coding itself.
So after hitting this roadblock again and again, our expert just decided, you know what, I'm going to figure this out myself. And that's when he started hearing about this completely new kind of tool, AI assistants built from the ground up to help with development. For him, this was a total game changer.
He stumbled upon this idea called vibe coding. Now, the name sounds a little playful, but the concept behind it is incredibly powerful. The point isn't to learn Python or JavaScript. It's about being able to describe what you want, your intent, your vibe in plain English, and having an AI basically act as your personal translator, turning those words into real working code.
And this really shows you how accessible this has all become. Now look, he wasn't a complete beginner. He knew what an API key was, but he was absolutely not a professional developer. Still, he downloaded the tool, got a little local server running on his machine, watched a couple of tutorials, and just like that, he was off to the races.
Okay, so this is where the story gets really, really wild. This wasn't some project that took months of grinding. No, in just 3 nights, he went from an idea written down in a prompt to a fully working application. It was just this incredible burst of creativity and productivity. His process here is so important. He started by writing this big, detailed master prompt that just laid out everything he wanted the system to do. Then he acted as the guide. He used his expert knowledge to give the AI context, saying things like, hey, we need to use WebSockets for the real-time data. And the AI spit out a working version on the first try. From there, it just became a conversation. He was like a director asking for changes. Okay, now sort this by date. Can you split this into 2 tables? Let's fix that format. And this, right here, this is the core lesson of this entire story. His superpower wasn't coding. His superpower was his deep, detailed knowledge of the problem he was trying to solve. He was the architect. The AI was just the incredibly fast and capable construction crew. To really put this into perspective, think about this. A few years back, he paid a professional developer to build a similar kind of custom bot. That project, from start to finish, took a full 6 months. And with the AI assistant, he built this new, complex monitoring tool, or at least a working prototype of it, in just 3 nights. The difference in speed is, well, it's just staggering. It's not even in the same ballpark. So this amazing speed feels like a new superpower, right? But with any great new power, you have to understand its rules and its limits. So the last part of his journey, and maybe the most important, was getting a real handle on what he had actually built. See, what he created wasn't a finished product you could sell or put on the App Store. It's what's called a high-fidelity prototype. It looks real, it feels real, you can click on it, you can see your data moving through it, but it's not ready for prime time. And he was really smart about this. He knew that as a non-coder, there was no way he could handle all the critical stuff like security or hunting down obscure bugs or making sure the code could handle thousands of users at once. He understood that just pushing this out to a live server would be a disaster. And that distinction is absolutely crucial.
So if it's not the final product, what's the real value? Well, this is where everything changes. That prototype becomes the single best communication tool you could ever imagine. It's a perfect, working, interactive specification. Just think about it.
The old way, endless meetings, giant documents trying desperately to explain your vision. It was slow, inefficient, and so easy for things to get lost in translation. Now, the new way? He can walk into a meeting with pro developers, put the prototype on the screen, and just say, "Build this." He's not explaining his vision, he's showing it. It answers 90% of the questions before they're even asked. The clarity is just absolute.
And this really is the most amazing part of all. This isn't just about making things faster. It's about making entirely new things possible. Think of all the ideas that get stuck on the shelf because they're just too complicated to explain or seem way too expensive to even try. Now, those ideas can be brought to life and tested out in just a few days.
So, what's the expert's advice for anyone else who wants to tap into this superpower? It's beautifully simple. Just spend 15 minutes a day. That's it. Every day, just dedicate 15 minutes to playing with these tools, learning a little bit, and trying something new.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. This kind of power isn't just for software engineers anymore. It's for every expert, every creator, anyone who has a deep understanding of a problem and a vision for how to solve it. So really, the only question left is, what problem are you going to solve first?